I'm just waiting for other colleagues to join us. Good to see you.
You too, sir.
Great, great. Let's see how other colleagues join us after the short break.
Yes, how's the break for you, sir?
Yeah, it was fine, fantastic, but hectic. You know that we're
Yeah,
still working during break. A kind of continuous supervision of postgraduate work,
yeah,
reading, reviewing, feedbacks, and all those things. So our life as academic is in fact a lifelong activity. You know.
true.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. I think another colleague is joining us. Hello, Setole. How are you, Setole? How are you, Setole? Can you unmute your voice? Setole, press your voice. Let me hear your voice. Hello, hello, Madlangu. How are you? Can I hear your voice? Hello, if you join the class, you just say hello on your camera and say hello. If you're joining the class, just on the camera and say hello, colleagues. Please do that quickly, please.
Hello, Professor.
Hi, sir.
How are you, how are you doing? I'm not seeing your
Uh,
face.
You,
Fantastic. Good to see you.
you too.
Great, 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 great. Who is there again?
Simone, yeah.
Hello.
Okay, how are you, Mon?
Simone.
Okay, Simone. Okay, okay.
Yes,
How
good,
are you
thank you.
doing?
Well, thanks in
Good,
yourself, Professor.
good to see you. Good to see you. You're
Yep.
welcome to the class.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, who is there again? Say hello to colleagues.
Hi, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
How was your break?
I managed to rest a little bit, but besides that, I think all of us were really busy on our research projects.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Now that is also good. In order not to keep the brain so dormant.
Yes.
The brain has to work. Good to see you. All right. Okay. Who is there again? Who is joining us? Can you say hello? Who is joining us? Please, once you enter the class, if you have not introduced yourself, just say hello to colleagues.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, can we see your face? When you say hello, you show your
Oh,
face.
okay. Let me switch.
Please.
Mm, Okay.
When you enter the class, show your face and say hello. Okay, hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you, Prof?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Fantastic. Great, 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 great. All right. Who is joining us? Say hello to us. Yes. Say hello as you join the class, please. Hello, how are you?
Hello, sir. Are you well?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Well, and yourself?
Good to see you.
You too, sir.
Fantastic. Great. All right. Who's joining us? You're joining, just say hello to colleagues, please. Show your face. Right. If you just joining, say hello to colleagues, please. If you just joining, say hello to colleagues. If you just joining, say hello to colleagues. I'll be back in a second. All right. Say hello to colleagues if you are just joining us, please. If you are just joining us, say hello to colleagues. Okay. I think we have to now progress. Right. Okay, colleagues, can you see the document there?
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can.
yes, sir.
Fantastic. We'll start with the second unit of your learner guide, which is of course unit 2. And we're going to talk the part 1, the first topic there, which has to do with individual and of course group. The emphasis was individual and group in that first section. So, of course, I have added organization and the environment. All right. These three key variables, the individual, the group, the organization, and environment, are the key influences of behavior in the workplace. The key influences of behaviors in the workplace are individuals or individual, an individual, a group, which is of course constituent of individuals coming together, the organization itself, which is the structure and the relationship within the organization, and of course the broad external environment, like I have mentioned to you earlier on. And I think I related to you in your first slide, all environmental forces that can impact organization or that can influence or affect organization and its members. Can you see? So the key influences of behavior in the workplace are the individual, the group, the organization, and of course, the environment. All right. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Great.
sir.
We progress. Now, the individual in the workplace. Who is an individual? Individuals are central to the study of organizational behavior or behavior of people in the workplace. Can you see? Organizations are made up of individual members. Can you see? Organizations are made up of individual members. So every one of us come in different fashion, with different characteristics, with our mode, with our attitude, with our idiosyncrasies, and all the rest to an organization. So two human beings cannot be entirely the same. And you see, what satisfies one person may not satisfy the other person. Can you see? That is the individuality in us. Even like I gave you instances that two twins brother may have different perception about life. They may have different likings about life. Can you see? Because they are individuals. Just looking at them, they may look the same, identical twins. But intrinsically, they may have different things they like. They may have different things they prefer about life. They may have different worldviews about life. Can you see? So those are the issues. One of the twins may like red color. Another one may like blue color. So these are individual preferences. One of the twins may be a Muslim or a Sangoma. Another person can be a Christian or a Jew. Can you see? These are individual preferences. So individuals are central to the study of behavior in the workplace. An organization are made up of individual members. So one thing we must put into perspective is that conflict arises if the needs and demands of the organization and that particular individual or a given individual are incompatible. Can you see? That is why I told you that different individual comes into the workplace with their baggages, with different things they carry in their mind, with even the most recent experiences they had while coming to the office. Can you see? So individuals are different. That's why we speak about individual differences. Can you see? So therefore, the task of a manager or the task of management is to integrate individuals, these respective individuals, and the organization as a mean to attaining the organization's goals or objectives. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Now, another variable that can affect people within the workplace or that can influence people within the workplace is, of course, the group of people. So groups are essential to organization work and performance. Groups are essential to organization work and performance. Can you see? And of course, group can be formal or informal. Can you see? Group can be formal and informal. Can you see? Formal groups are groups that are constituted by the formal authority of the organization, the standard authority of the organization, the hierarchies, the structure of the organization. Those are formal grouping. But of course, within the formal group, there could be an emergence of informal group, or informal group can emerge from the formal group. It could be a group of people with similar interest, or a group of people trying to change things within the organization. They are not based or within the structure of the organization. There may be a group of friends that maybe after work go for some wine or some drink somewhere. And out of that, they start forming their own informal group. The one thing is that a good manager can use this informal group to achieve certain tasks or certain objectives within an organization. So informal organizations often develop their own hierarchies and leaders. Can you see? Within the informal organization, after several meetings, they may identify one person as their leader, somebody who makes them to be among that informal group. To the extent that if he is not around, that group feels very dysfunctional, not interesting, and in fact, no purpose of constituting that group. Can you see? So there's a key person that can make the group. So as the group begin to meet informally, they begin to identify somebody who is their leader, somebody who is their role model among the group, somebody who is more funny, somebody who can crack joke among them, somebody who can suggest great ideas, somebody who have resources even among the group, somebody who pays for the drink after, they begin to identify that person. I think this person has some leadership quality as far as this group is concerned, because if it's not there, everybody is broke. Certainly there will be crisis in terms of payment for drink or for social activities. So these are kind of informal group emerging out of the formal structure of an organization. And of course, informal organization or informal group can influence individual behaviors. Can you see? Informal group can influence individual behavior. Can you see? We can leave this as group. Informal group can influence individual behavior. Can you see? So managerial understanding of group processes can help the task of integration. If manager can understand the group processes, different things around group, he will be in a better position to integrate the group effectively for effective performance. And you see, understanding of group processes can help the task of integration. Is that clear? Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. I want to be sure. All right. Now, I told you these are the fundamental ones that are within the confine of your learner guide, individual and group within the organization, their influences. But like I told you also previously, in terms of influences, another influence in terms of how people behave in organization is the organization itself, how things are done, who relates to who reports to who within organization. Now, when we talk about organization, we are talking about the formal organizational structure. Can you see? The formal organizational structure is created by management, it's created by leadership. That is why I think I told one of our colleagues last time that leadership takes care of structure. Can you see? Formal organizational structure is created by management, and management is the leader within organization, which is why your course is called organizational leadership. Can you see? So management within a formal structure are the leaders within organization. It establishes internal relationship. Can you see? Organization The organization establishes internal relationship. Who relates to who report to who works under who. Can you see? And we have touched on chain of command. We have also touched on other issues around structure. That is the organization is. It also provides orderliness within organization. Orderliness, can you see? And of course, it helps to direct the organization towards the achievement of organizational goal. Can you see? So that is organization is. So organizational design can have an impact on the behavior of people within organization. We have spoken about different type of organization. We have spoken about team organization. We have spoken about hierarchical organization. We have spoken about flat organization. We have spoken about mechanistic structure. We have spoken about organic structure. We have spoken about, of course, hybrid structure. So all these different structures will affect or influence how people within that particular structure do things. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Okay. Now we'll talk about the environment. I have already shown you the environmental forces that affect organization in our previous slide. So, which is of course external environment which affect organization as a result of technological development. We change the way we do things in our organization. If we don't try to meet up with technological development or advancement, of course, our competitors will do it and we'll be far behind, or they will outperform us in terms of the competitive struggle. And of course, economic activities. Can you see? Economic activities affect organization. Inflation, deflation, recession, all these affect organization, economic activities. Of course, globalization is, of course, part of the new economic trend. Can you see? And of course, social and cultural influences. Can you see? The social and cultural activities within the environment where we operate will certainly affect the people within that organization. How we do things. Can you see? How we do things in that organization. Can you see? And of course, the impact of government actions can, of course, affect an organization. Corporate responsibilities, and of course, ethical behaviors. Now, there is a renewed emphasis on ethical behavior and corporate social responsibilities. All these are environmental factors that can affect organization as well as members of the organization, that is, people within that organization. Therefore, management needs to assess and manage the opportunities because outside there are opportunities as well as threats. Can you see? So, to manage the opportunities and risk presented by the external environment towards the achievement of the organization's goal. Is that clear?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
clear? Fantastic. And of course, in terms of all those influences, of course, this is not specifically part of your learner guide, but we will still meet it in some of your topic, which is of course a organizational, which is of course a psychological contract. And like I told you, a manager should be able to create an environment where the individual's aspiration is compatible with the organizational aspiration. Can you see? So when we talk about psychological contract, we are talking about a series of mutual expectations and satisfaction of needs arising from the people-organization relationship. Can you see? It is actually rights, privileges, duties, and obligations which are not part of the formal agreement. Can you see? But have an important influence on behavior. Formal contract agreement is a written contract, but psychological contract is not a written contract. Can you see? It is psychological, it is embedded, it is something you cannot see, it is intrinsic. Can you see? It is inside, but it is always the expectation of organization member. That my organization will do this for me. My organization will treat me this way. And when the organization fail to do that, your psychological contract is negatively affected. The same thing organization expects you as an employee, that you will perform, you will respect your colleagues, you will treat people kindly, you will not steal from the organization, you will not abuse your fellow colleague in the organization. And when you fail to live up to those expectations, then you have actually defeated the psychological contract of your organization. And as such, you will be sent off or you'll be dismissed. Can you see? So that is the issue around psychological contract. It's a non-written contract. Can you see? Between employees and of course employers and management. Exactly. And of course, when we talk about psychological contract, you can see a kind of individual psychological contract expectations. You can just read that yourself when I send the slide to you. They are just listed. There's no need to belabor ourselves on that. And of course, going forward, you can see the organizational expectation from employees. You see, you can also just read that when I send the slide to you. They are just self-explanatory. Is that clear? Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, when I don't hear any voices, it seems to me that everybody is lost. You see, and I remember the other day, the director of the School of Management was having a session with us, and after talking for hours, it seems nobody was responding. And she asked, "Am I alone here, please?" So, so that is the point, you know. So I just want to. It also builds my psychological contract that I'm talking to students when you respond. Can you see? So I expect you to also respond and, if possible, contribute to the class. Is that clear?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Even if it's one person that responds, I'm okay with that. Yeah, to know that the class is responding. All right, we'll progress. Then, of course, within the external environment also will come to the issue of globalization and internationalization or international context, which of course originates originate as a result of improvement in international communication. That is IT, internet, and the rest. International competitive pressure as a result of international competitive pressure, and of course, the spread of production method and business processes across nations and regions, and international business activities such as franchising, licensing, outsourcing. We have discussed extensively outsourcing, and I even have an article on outsourcing which I forwarded to you. Mergers and acquisition and all the rest. You see, all these are things that brought or that triggered globalization. If I have sufficient time, I think I have a slide on globalization which maybe I can share with you, but though it is not special, but anything about globalization affects business nowadays. So if we have time in terms of covering your syllabus, I can share the slide with you and discuss extensively on it. All right. Now, of course, this origin have resulted in, of course, something like boundaryless organization. Some people call it borderless organization or boundaryless. Can you see? Boundaryless organization. We discussed that during our last in the unit one of your learner guide, and of course, project teams. I told you about renewed emphasis on team. Can you see? Working in team instead of individualistic approach to work activities. And of course, networks. Can you see? People now connect through electronic media and through different gadgets. We are talking through networks. They work now in networks, network activity. And of course, there's not renewed emphasis on less hierarchical organization structure. And you see, any question? Any question? Okay, I thought I was hearing somebody in the background. Okay, so the emphasis now is on less hierarchical organizational structure. So we have actually touched on most of these variables or most of these issues, one way or the other in your previous lectures. So managing people from different cultures. How do you, as a manager, manage people from different cultures? Because like I told you, globalization is forcing people to work from different culture, both from different national culture and of course ethnic culture. Can you see? And as a result of that, you have now seen a lot of people from different countries working in another country. Can you see? So managers must develop organizational systems that are flexible enough to take into account the meaning of work and the relative value of reward within the range of cultures where they operate. I see. And particularly global organizations that operate in different environments with different cultures. Certainly, you have to scan each of the environment and find out the best way to manage people within that particular environment as a manager. That is, of course, the argument of Francesco and Gold in 2005. All right. So factors that affect national culture include, of course, language, education, the political system of that particular national culture, religion of that particular culture, and of course, value system of that particular culture, and of course, the legal system of that particular culture. All these are factors affecting or influencing national culture or national cultures. All right. With that, we come to the end of the first unit of that unit 2 of your learner guide. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. Okay. I just want to share another slide. Okay.
Baby, yeah, recording.
All right. Okay, we'll progress with our studies. Unit 2. All right. Okay. We'll move to the next slide there, which is, of course, the original slides prepared by Professor Thomas Adair, and I think which I'll be sending you through the link. Like you can recall, we still have the 7 strategic models or strategic imperative for organizational effectiveness, which includes structure, system, style, staff, skills, strategy. And if you look at what we have been discussing, you can see that, of course, we have touched on structure, and of course, we have touched a little bit on system. Today, I think we'll be dwelling more on, of course, staff of individuals within an organization, which has to do with the individual, the group, and of course the team within the organization. And as we progress, we'll be also touching skills, in terms of organizational effectiveness. All right. So individual and group within organization, which is of course the unit 2. Now, like I told you, individuals come with different characteristics, which is why we have diversity within our workplace. Can you see? You may see two black individuals or two white individuals, and you may just categorize them with the demographic feature of white or black that you can see with the natural eyes. But inward or intrinsic in each of them is diversity. They have different aspects of their life which are not related at all. Can you see? So that brings diversity to the equation in the workplace. And of course, some of the diversities that one can witness in the workplace, dimensions of diversity include geographic origin. Can you see? Geographic origin. Where two individuals come from. Can you see? One may come from Eastern Cape, another one may come from KwaZulu-Natal, another one may come from Venda, Limpopo, another one may come from, of course, Gauteng, another one may come from different regions. Can you see? So that is geographical origin. Now, when we talk about dimensions of diversity, we can talk in terms of time with the organization. Time with the organization speaks to tenure. How many years have you spent in a particular organization? Can you see? That is diversity. Some have spent 15 to 20 years in an organization, while some have just spent a year or 2 years. Can you see? So time with an organization, which is of course tenure within an organization, is part of diversity in a particular organization. And another issue in terms of dimensions of diversity is, of course, lifestyle. What is your lifestyle? Can you see? Some people have different lifestyles. Some people spend a lot. Some people save. Some people are chain smokers. Some people are non-smokers. Can you see? Some people womanize, but some people don't. Can you see? So these are lifestyles of different individuals. And of course, we talk about social class. Who are the people you relate with? Who are the people you mingle with? Do you mingle with the upper social class or the lower social class, or you mingle with every person? Can you see? So these are also issues around the diversity of people within organization. Religion. Religious belief is also aspect of diversity within an organization. Can you see? Religious belief in terms of some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are Jews, some are pagans, some are Sangomas, some are Hindus, some are Sikh, some are Buddhist, so religion. So everybody have different religion. We cannot have the same religion in the same workplace. You see, some have different belief and religion. And of course, education. Education is also another dimension of diversity. Some people are highly educated in the same workplace, while some are not highly educated, or some are not educated at all. Can you see? So education is, and of course, within education, we have people with primary school education, we have people with secondary school education, we have people with, which is of course 12th class, and we have people with university degree, and within the university degree, we have people with first degree, we have people with their masters, we have people with their PhD. Each of these are categories of education within the workplace. Can you see? And of course, language. Can you see? When we talk about language, it is, if it is within our nation, you can see we have more than 11 languages in South Africa that are approved by the government. Can you see? Among them, Xhosa, of course, Zulu, English, Pedi, Venda, so many language, more than 11 languages that have been approved, national language of South Africa. All right. And of course, we talk about nationality. Nationality, when we talk about nationality now, because I told you that as a result of globalization, we are no more the only people working in our organizations from the same particular country. We have people now from different countries working within our organization, either as expatriate or as people who have special skills that they are functioning in our organization. We have decided to recruit them because they have scarce skills. Can you see? So that has bring people from different countries to work in other countries also. So nationality has become an issue of also diversity within organization. Can you see? Of course, we have Indians, we have Chinese, we have, of course, Nigerians, we have Zimbabweans, we have, of course, Malians working in South Africa. The same thing in Nigeria now. We have South Africans working in Nigeria in most of the retail outlets that South African organizations are opening also in Nigeria and also other parts of Africa. Can you see? And of course, we'll talk about economic status. Some are poor, some are rich. Can you see? Some are high earner, some are low earners. That is economic status of people within organization. Can you see? And of course, we talk about job function. Can you see? What is your job role? Your function. Are you a manager? Are you management? Are you just a subordinate? Are you an ordinary person in the organization? Are you a cleaner? Are you a sweeper? Can you see? These are all diversity-related issues within organization. And of course, we talk about physical abilities. Can you see? Some may be physically able to do the job. Some may be disabled. Can you see? Even among the physically able, some can perform more than the others. Can you see? So physical ability is another dimension of diversity within organizations. And of course, we'll talk about thinking style. Can you thinking style? Some are fast thinkers, some are slow thinkers. Can you see? Some come with idea within a short moment when they are looking for solution. Some takes years to think and to think out ideas that will make the organization to achieve its objectives. Can you see? So as a result, we have fast thinkers, we have slow thinkers. These also are dimensions of diversity within the workplace. And of course, we have gender. We have, of course, the male gender, we have female gender. And recently now, we have been made to understand that, of course, we have, of course, transgenders within our workplace. And of course, we have people who also are, of course, have different sexual orientations, like the gays and the lesbians within our workplaces also, which is, of course, approved by the Constitution of South Africa. Can you see? So they must be respected based on their own gender preferences, based on their own gender. And even recently, there was even a debate, I think, amongst some, of course, gays and lesbians, that they should have their own separate toilets. Can you see? In organizations. Can you see? They should have their own separate toilet, apart from that of male and female. Can you see? So those are arguments, and those are dimensions of diversity within the workplace. And of course, race. Can you see? Race, we talk about black, white, Indian, of colored, and of course, we have people from different regions of the world. These are all race. Chinese race, Asian race, which is of course comprising Chinese and India and all the Asian countries. And of course, we have, of course, which in South Africa, the colored, the white, the black, and of course, Indians. And of course, Chinese have also been included. These are different races that one can actually look at when we talk about race. But of course, embedded in race is ethnicity. Can you see? Ethnicity. Sometimes people say, why do we classify, why do we demarcate ethnicity and race? Can you see? Well, ethnicity is, of course, within a particular demographic grouping. Then we have ethnic groupings. Like among the blacks, we have the Zulus, we have the Xhosas, we have the Pedis, we have the Vendas, these are ethnic groupings within a particular demographic grouping. Can you see? So, ethnicity is an extension of racism or race within a particular environment of diversity. Can you see? And of course, to a certain extent, even within some countries like Nigeria, there are certain ethnic groups that consider themselves as race, like the Yorubas normally say the Yoruba race instead of the Yoruba ethnic group. Can you see? So you can see that even among ethnic groups, they consider themselves as a particular race. Can you see? So among blacks can even consider themselves as a race. Can you see? So that is where it's a little bit overlap or ambiguity between ethnicity and race. All right. Then, of course, we come to culture. Different people have their culture. Okay, see, the Xhosas have their cultures, the Zulu have their culture, even whites have their culture. The culture of white are mostly individualism, while the culture of blacks are mostly collectivism. Can you see? And of course, apart from those cultures, there are belief systems among the blacks, and of course, there are belief systems among the whites. All these are reflected in terms of culture. Can you see? I will talk about age. Within organization, we have old workers. Can you see? And we have young workers. We have people who have been there in the organization for years. Older workers are people above 50, 55. Can you see? And of course, younger workers are people within the age range of 25 to 30 something. Can you see? And these are also issues of diversities within the organization. Can you see? And of course, we talk about value system. Can you see? Embedded in culture is value system. Some people have different value systems. Can you see? As such, that brings diversity to the equation within the workplace. And of course, we have talked about ethnicity and of course, geographical origin. All these are issues of diversity within an organization. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. Now move to responses to diversity. Some of the responses to diversity include exclusion. Can you see? Exclusion. So some people may decide to exclude others who are not similar to themselves. Can you see? And of course, another issue is denial. Can you see? Denial. Responses to denying that people are not treated unfairly. Can you see? So that is another response to diversity. Another response to diversity is segregation. Segregation. I give you an instance when I was a lecturer at Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And I told you how when I enter into a class, I'll see the white sitting on this row. I'll see the color sitting in the middle. I'll see the black sitting, and it was a large class, a class of almost 100 students. You see the white seated on one row, the color seated in the middle, and of course the black seated. And in fact, I have to see how to assimilate them, how to integrate them. That is the next point, the response to diversity. How to assimilate them, how to integrate them. And I made sure I told them that if you're submitting an assignment and there's no white in that group or black or colored in that group, that assignment will not be marked. Can you see? And systematically, I started missing the class in such a way that they interact with one another as colleagues in the same class. Can you see? That is assimilation, response to diversity. And of course, another response to diversity is tolerance. I remember when I was teaching my student diversity management, and I told them to start naming things they consider in terms of actually improving diversity in the workplace. And one of the issues we spoke about was tolerance. Can you see? Being able to tolerate others. Can you see? Being able to tolerate others because you are a Christian, you mustn't frown at Muslims the way they worship and the way they do things. And because you're a Muslim, you mustn't frown at a Christian. Religious crisis is one of the issues affecting the world today. Muslims are killing Christians and Christians are killing Muslims. Can you see? This is because of intolerance. Can you see? And these wars we hear every day at times also plays out in the workplace, where people are not willing to tolerate one another as a result of religion and diversity-related matters. Can you see? So tolerance is another response to diversity. And of course, another response is fostering mutual adaptation. And so being able as a manager to project, to foster mutual adaptation. Let us adapt. Let us move together. And of course, be able to work to work together in spite of our diversities or our differences. Is that clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
That's fantastic. So a good example of an individual's kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope, that is individual's characteristics. You can see now, this is an individual here. His age is 30 something. He's married. He has 2 young children. He's diabetic. No, he has no religious affiliation. He's a jazz fan. He works for a multinational company. He's a marathon runner. He's resident in Johannesburg. He has B engineering honors. He's an engineer. His parents city dwellers. Can you see? His parents are city dwellers. Government school education. He's got government school education. Born in Transkei. Second language is English. He's married to a Zulu woman. Sees himself as a South African and also enjoy golf. Can you see? This is an individual. You can see the diversity there. Can you see? And this is a black guy born in Transkei. But you can see another black guy without all these kaleidoscope or characteristics or idiosyncrasies. Can you see? So this is the profile of a particular individual. So no 2 individuals can have exactly the same profile. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Either he may have all this and married to a Xhosa. Can you see? Or he may have all this and married to a white. Or he may have all this and married to a colored. Can you see? Or he may have all this and he's a B human resources management, a B honors human resources management. Or he may have all this, he has just a single child. Or he may have all this, he's not diabetic. Can you see? So no 2 individuals can have the same diversity profile. Can you see? Or the same characteristics. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Now, great. So now, for example, if the name of the guy, or if we are talking about Michael running the Comrade Marathon, now some of the things we may take for him is, of course, Michael is diabetic, resident in Johannesburg, not acclimatized to local condition, a marathon runner. So the situation is that Michael at Comrades Marathon. Can you see? If I just describing what Michael is doing, he's diabetic, resides in Johannesburg, not acclimatized to local conditions, marathon runner. So the situation is Michael at Comrades Marathon, for instance, you know. So this is his individuality, you know. All right. 5 keys to working with diversity. 5 keys to working with diversity. Let's look at them. All right. We'll talk about that. We will extend on that in the other slide. Now, in terms of diversity, in terms of how we relate to others, one key issue is stereotyping. Stereotyping. In other words, we are sometimes very judgmental about other people's culture, other people's belief, other people's way of life, other people's color, other people's way of doing things. So stereotype is normally based on assumption. Assumption that may not be true. Can you see? Assumption that may not be true. Just some wrong hypothesis. Can you see? So stereotype may be based on assumption. Can you see? Assumption. For instance, because we have one terrorist among the Muslims, then one can say all Muslims are terrorists, which is incorrect. Can you see? Because there are Muslims that are very religious, very peaceful, and very harmonious. Can you see? Or for instance, if certain set of coloreds drink, one can say all coloreds are drunkards, which may not be true. Can you see? Which may not be true. There may be some coloreds who do not even test alcohol. Can you see? So those are assumptions. And assumption brings about generalization. Generalizing that everybody in this particular grouping does this. Can you see? Everybody in this particular grouping does this. Can you see? So generalization. Generalization. And of course, prejudgment of irrelevant criteria. Prejudgment of irrelevant criteria. And of course, judgment based on background, based on perception, based on negativity that have been impressed into your heart and mind that this grouping is like this without experiencing that. Can you see? So that is issues around stereotyping. So attraction of talent, talent retention, and of course talent development are directly linked to how diversity is led within an organization. Attraction of talent to get talents. Talent retention, retaining them, talent development, developing them are directly linked to how diversity is led within an organization. So a leader should be able to promote an inclusive organization in order for you to attract the best talents and be able to retain the best talent. And of course, be able to develop the talent, which is, of course, the human capital. Can you see? This will be linked to how you are able to lead and manage diversity within an organization. All right. So basically, merit depends on what the organization requires to achieve its objective. Merit depends on what the organization requires to achieve its objective. So it's not about color. It's not about the food an individual eats. It's not about the religion of an individual. Can you see? Merit depends on what the organization requires to achieve its objective. So it may be a Christian who is talented. It may be a Muslim who is talented. It may be a black who is talented. It may be a white who is talented. Can you see? Merit depends on what the organization requires to achieve its goal. So the emphasis should be on merit. And merit brings about recruiting people from different backgrounds, different races, different geographical locations, different nationality in order to achieve your goals. Can you see? In order to achieve your goals. And we have seen over the years that nepotism, favoritism, tribalism, and all the rest weakens organizational or national performance. Can you see? If you're hiring only your brothers, or you're hiring only people you know, or you're hiring people from your community, or you're hiring people from your race, sometimes hinders optimal organizational performance. Can you see? But look for merit. Merit depends on what the organization requires to achieve its objective. All right. The next one there, the second one is do not focus on differences without looking at commonalities. Can you see? Do not focus on differences without, of course, first and foremost, it is good to identify differences. But of course, inherent among our employees, we should also see how they are common. What is bringing them together? Can you see what is bringing them? Are they all interested in the goals of the organization? Can you see? Are they all interested? Can you see? Do they like to work as a team? Can you see? It's not about looking at differences. We must look at commonalities. What is their interest? For instance, if we are an accounting firm, do everybody have interest in accountancy or in accounting? Can you see? So those things are things we must also put into consideration when we are hiring people. Do not focus on differences without also looking at commonalities. All right. Establish why. The third aspect there is establish why diversity is important for you. Establish why diversity is important for you. Can you see? And of course, your organization. Can you see? And of course, the next slide there is general business reason for leading diversity. Can you see? General business reason for leading diversity. Why do we need to lead diversity? Why do we need to manage diversity? Can you see? One is that one of the reasons is to lower staff turnover and avoid the revolving door syndrome. Can you see? To lower staff turnover and avoid the revolving door, people coming and going syndrome. Can you see? Then, of course, the next one is to tap into a range of skills previously absent. That is why we lead diversity. To tap into range of skills previously absent. Can you see? For instance, if you have an organization that is really focused on quantitative analysis, of course, we know that Indians are very good quantitatively. Can you see? And of course, comparatively to maybe South Africa in terms of national contest, we can say the Indians excel in mathematics and other quantitative related courses. So if previously we have locked our door, our borders, we want to adopt a protectionist policy. Now, as a result of globalization, organizations are no more searching for talents within the national boundaries. They are even going overseas to look for talents. Can you see? So to tap into a range of skills previously absent within our own national border. Can you see? So general business reason for leading diversity, the next one is to attract and retain best talents. Can you see? And of course, another one is to enhance creativity and problem solving, critical for competitiveness. You can see now we are in a world of competition. Can you see? We are in a world of competition because the competition is now rife and stiff. Can you see? We are no more competing within our national boundaries, but we are competing within an international and, of course, the global village. Can you see? As such, diversity, leading diversity, will help us to enhance creativity and problem solving, critical for competition or for global competition. General business reason for leading diversity. Another issue is to respond to diverse market timelessly. Can you see? We are now operating in diverse markets. I give you instances. Organizations are no more operating within their national borders, but they are operating within the global environment, the international borders, or the international environment. As a result, if we have diversity, if we have Indians within our workplaces, we'll be able to penetrate the Indian market. And of course, having Indians as members of our corporation that leads the war straight to India, or that leads our organization to India because they already know the environment. Can you see? Or if we're going to, like Nigeria, we may have, of course, a Nigerian person in our organization that will tell us everything within the Nigerian economy in order to enable us to penetrate easily. Can you see? So to respond to diverse markets timelessly. Can you see? Then, of course, another reason for leading diversity is to promote better labor relations, teamwork, communication throughout the organization. So to lead diversity is also to promote better labor relations, employment relations, to also enhance teamwork and communication, effective communication throughout the organization. Another business reason for leading diversity is to enhance job satisfaction, morale, and motivation, resulting in superior productivity and quality. Can you see? It enhances our job satisfaction, morale, motivation, resulting in superior productivity and quality. Another business reason for leading diversity is to promote the organization as flexible, adaptable, and proactive. You see, that's another reason for promoting diversity, for leading diversity in an organization. And another reason for leading diversity in an organization is to utilize the skills of employees to the maximum. You see, utilize the skills of employees to the maximum. All right. So in terms of that, the fourth is in your organizational culture, explore shared vision. In your organizational culture, explore shared vision and values and their meanings. I see. In your organizational culture, explore shared vision and values and their meanings. So we move to issues around systemic discrimination embedded within workplace culture and structure. Yeah, within some organization or within some workplace, there's systemic discrimination. A very good example of systemic discrimination have been the case of apartheid in South Africa, where certain demographic groups were discriminated for years. That is systemic discrimination embedded within workplace culture and structure. And of course, there are also certain environments where there are systemic discrimination, of course, in the workplace. You see. But of course, through diversity management or through government deliberate action, most of this issue can be redressed. All right. Now let's take a view of systemic discrimination. Patterns of behavior that are part of the social and administrative structure and culture of the workplace, and that create or perpetuate a position of relative disadvantage for some group and advantage for others or for individuals on the basis of their group identity. And of course, I gave you an instance in terms of the apartheid system, which of course restricted certain demographic grouping from advancing within the workplace. All right. So that is a good example of systemic discrimination. Discrimination. So the fifth, diversity management requires the commitment of all players at all levels. Can you see? Diversity management requires the commitment of all players at all levels. So body management, in fact, it has to be led by top management. And of course, everybody has to be involved in diversity management, both the top and the bottom of the organization's hierarchy. All right. So leading diversity is creating a work environment that allows people to develop and contribute to organizational goals without being advantaged or disadvantaged by factors unrelated to the job. Can you see? And a good example of this explanation or this narrative is what we call inclusive organization, where people are free to contribute. Create a work environment that allows people to develop and contribute to organizations' goals. Can you see? You see, there are people with talent, people with skills, but because they are not heard, either because of their demographic features or the grouping they belong, they hide their talents. Can you see? They hide their talents. They are intimidated. Anything they do, if you have a kind of leader who is operating within the in-group and out-group approach, anything they do is criticized. Any initiative is damned. Can you see? Then that is not an inclusive organization. So leading diversity is creating a work environment that allows people to develop and contribute to organizational goals without being advantaged or disadvantaged by factors unrelated to job. Can you see? Factors unrelated to job, which of course, factors unrelated to job brings about, of course, dysfunctional conflict within organization. All right, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, that is clear.
Any question?
You know,
Any question?
I just read here that people are having network thingy problems. That's why they're coming in and out. It's not a question. It's just
Oh, okay.
yes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry for those colleagues that are having network challenges. I was thinking that now entering into the Blackboard lecturing will reduce most of those network challenges. But no problem, when we share the slides, you can also combine the slides and your textbook to grab what you have actually delivered. And of course, I will release the video of the lecture for colleagues also, so that you can as well receive the lecture as it is. All right.
Yes, thank you on that behalf, sir. Because you're on your side, it's clear. It's just I guess it's from our side for those who are
Okay.
having.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So we spoke about mutual adaptation, organization and employees. Can you see? Organization and employee must have mutual adaptation. That is to say that, in fact, the interest of the organization and employees must relate, should relate. I started out with the previous slide. Can you see? There must be. That is why you see that there are individuals who comes to a particular environment, they say, oh, this is the best place to work. For me, I enjoy working there. Another person may come there and say, no, I don't like this environment. Okay, you see, that is individual differences. So there must be mutual adaptation between organization and, of course, employees within organization. Employees as individuals, and of course, employees as group members within an organization. All right. Leading diversity. Leading diversity requires culture and system change. Can you see? Leading diversity requires culture and system change. I'll give you an instance of the previous practices in South Africa. And if you want to lead diversity, if you want to change the status quo, certainly you have to change the culture and the system that is currently in operation and involve individual and interpersonal interventions. There's a need to involve individuals and, of course, interpersonal interventions. Can you see? For us to understand ourselves very much within the organization. Can you see? In order for us to foster and work together in spite of our diversities. All right. So leadership practices or leadership best practices for diversity. Leadership best practices for diversity include one, commitment to all levels. Sorry, commitment at all levels. So everybody must be committed to diversity. But of course, the leaders must lead the way. You cannot be talking about diversity and when you are hamstringing some individuals or some groupings within an organization. That would just be a lip service. You see? So you as a leader must be committed to diversity and be able to inspire all the levels within the organization to be committed to diversity within the organization. Of course, the next aspect in terms of leadership best practices is establishment of diversity vision. Create a vision for diversity. Can you see? Create a vision. Create a vision. For instance, in the next 5 years, our organization will comprise of certain amount of black leaders, or certain amount of women leaders, or certain amount of employees reflecting the demography of South Africa or of the nation. You see, you create a vision, establish a vision, and direct people towards that vision as a leader. And of course, leadership best practices, establishment of business imperative. Can you see? There's a need to establish the business imperative for diversity, making members of the organization to understand that it is imperative to embrace diversity because it enhances our business performance. And you see, it supports our goals. It supports our objective as an organization. Then, of course, another leadership best practices is establishment of process to develop shared values. And you see, shared values, communality. And you see, that we have a common value, common goal. And you see, our individualism has been dropped. Subordination of our individual interests to organizational interests. So that goal gives us a kind of commonality. We have common interest. Then, of course, development of communication strategies. How do we communicate within organization? Without communication, organization is useless. An organization cannot achieve its goal. Can you see? Communication is the essence of business. So development of communication strategy, how we communicate to one another, how we are polite to one another, how we address each other without being rude. Can you see? How we communicate our objectives without forcing people, winning people to accept your ideas and your value system or what you want to achieve in the organization as a leader. And of course, another aspect in terms of best practices is establishment of accountability. And you see, people must be accountable, people must be in charge of diversity. And of course, people must show that they are adhering to the best practices when it comes to issues of diversity. You see, people must be accountable. Managers should be accountable, of course. And those who have been delegated the responsibility to manage diversity should also be accountable. You see, establishment of accountability. Then, of course, leadership best practices, inclusion of all stakeholders. Can you see? If we want to, of course, manage diversity within our organization, we need to include all stakeholders of our organizations. Can you see? All stakeholders. And of course, reflect that emphasis that nobody is excluded in this particular organization. And of course, another best practice is commitment of resources. Nothing is done without resources. So those entrusted with leading and managing diversity must have the resources to carry that out. Then another aspect in terms of leadership best practices is creation of an inclusive organizational culture. And I spoke about that. Inclusive organizational culture that everybody feels welcome, accepted, embraced, and of course, feel free to add their views and contribute to the organization's objectives. All right. And of course, creating an inclusive organization will warrant identification of sabotage practices. Those who are trying to sabotage or those who are trying to sabotage what we are planning. Can you see? And of course, assimilation around vision. We have to integrate ourselves around vision, shared values, and of course, standard within our organization. All right. Leadership best practices. We have spoken about communication. Communication, you can see the leader that communicating to other members within the organization and the way everybody seems to be actually coordinating with regards to best practices in terms of communication. So create an environment which allow individuals to behave in such a way that organizational goals can be met. And say, create an environment which allow individuals to behave in such a way that organizational goals can be met. All right. How can diversity create problems for organization? I think those are what we discuss now. How can it can actually create some problem in terms of people having, of course, different ideas, and of course, initially, in the first instance, there could be some challenges. But as we begin now to identify that we have common goals, shared values, shared vision, those issues of diversity problem will begin to diminish or begin to fall away. All right. Then leadership, getting it right. You see, how can leaders get issues of diversity right? The first aspect is that discuss and confront difficult and scary topic head on. Can you see? Discuss. A leader should be able to discuss and confront difficult and scary topics around diversity head on. Can you see? Don't just keep it for tomorrow when somebody break the rules or when somebody discriminate or when somebody intimidate or when somebody victimize another person based on the color or based on the background of that person. The leader should be able to discuss and confront the issue no matter who is involved. Can you see? Discuss and confront difficult and scary topic head on. Then the next one is Leadership, how do leadership get it right? Two is inculcate dignity and respect within the corporate culture. There's a need for leader to inculcate dignity and respect within the corporate culture. That is that everybody should be respected. Everybody should be treated with human dignity. Can you see? Within the corporate culture. If some people are treated respectfully and others are indignified, then certainly it will not be an inclusive, or it will not be an organization that accepts and embraces diversity. And of course, the next aspect is the importance of honesty and authenticity. You see, there should be honesty in what we do, and it should be authentic. We don't need pretense. Can you see? Within an organization, you don't pretend. You don't pretend. Sometimes we see people in organization, when they see you, they give a funny smile, as if they love you. But in their heart, they hate you. That is pretense. But one should be honest and authentic in terms of how you relate to your organizational members. The fourth one there is accept that alternative views may be right. You see, the leader should be able to accept that alternative views, dissenting views, may be right. And of course, with regards to getting it right, create a culture of development. So you see, people should be developed. People should be trained all the time. And you see, to reinforce diversity within the workplace. And of course, getting it right, balance task achievement with relationship building. Can you see? Balance task achievement. This is one quality of good leaders. There are some leaders that will just focus on task achievement without thinking about relationship. There are some leaders, and under such circumstances, relationship is broken down, and talent may begin to leave the organization. But there are also some leaders who may focus on relationship and ignore task achievement. Under such circumstances, the organization productivity may fall down, and the organization may end up folding up. So a good leader should be able to balance both task orientation and, of course, relationship orientation within an organization. All right. So the next one is build bridges, not barriers. Listen, be able to mend fences, build bridges. Don't create barriers in an organization. You see, if you see conflict in organization, call the members and speak to them and unite them. Listen to them and also see how you can foster mutual and common understanding between conflicting individuals. And of course, the next one is take risk. To get it right, you must take some risk, some level of risk. A true leader should be able to take risks for what he or she believes in. Can you see? And of course, in terms of getting it right, develop humorous warmth. Can you see? Create some humorous warmth. Can you see? Create an environment where people crack some joke, where people talk to each other, not people seeing their fellow colleagues and locking themselves into the office. Can you see? There should be humor, there should be warmth. Can you see? Within an organization. If you see a very happy and a very warm organization, you can see people cracking joke about themselves, But a joke shouldn't be very expensive also to offend someone. Can you see? So there should be warmth within the organization. And of course, getting it right, a leader must walk the talk. You must not just talk and talk and talk and talk without showing example, without leading the way. So you must walk the talk. Can you see? You must be talk. Can you see? So that is getting it right with regards to leadership. In terms of leadership, getting it right within the organization. All right. Now we'll come to a bigger aspect of team work team, which is of course team. If you have time, then of course we'll touch on other issues. A work team, a work team that is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, a set of performance goals, and an approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. I say that is a work team. And like I told you, in current work environment, the emphasis is now on team work or work team. Can you see? People have realized that when people work in team, they achieve synergy within the organization. So why do teams fail in terms of the emphasis or the renewed emphasis to work in team? Team reason for team failure include using a team for work better undertaken by individuals. Can you see? If you are using a team for work that is meant for individuals, then definitely that team will fail. Then, of course, managing members as individuals. You have to manage people as team members, not as individuals. Then that is another reason for failure of team. The another reason for failure of team is imbalance of authority. Can you see? Within the team, people are supposed to actually function. For instance, in a self-management team, everybody is supposed to provide leadership. But when there is a kind of imbalance of authority, when one person now assumes the leadership and becomes very autocratic, certainly that can, of course, lead to team failure. The another aspect is poor structural decision. I say when there is poor structural decision, everybody is making decision, there will be confusion, certainly. And that can bring a kind of failure to a team. Then the next aspect is, of course, lack of organizational support. Can you see? Lack of organizational support. If there's no support from the organization to the team, certainly in terms of resources, in terms of giving them the tools to function, certainly that can, of course, bring a kind of failure to a teamwork. Then the next one is mistaken assumption of skills of members. If members are not with the right skills, then that will bring failure because the skills required in a team is complementary skills. But if the skills within a particular team are haphazard or zigzag or are not complementary, certainly that team is bound to fail. Then the next aspect is lack of conflict management. Can you see? If there is no proper conflict management within a team, certainly there will be problem in that team, and of course that can lead to team failure. Of course, the conflict is allowed in any organization or in any team or in any grouping. But that conflict must be functional conflict. That conflict must be conflict that relate to how the task should be performed. But when that conflict moves from tax-related conflict to personal conflict, when members begin to fight themselves and insult their families, then that is dysfunctional conflict. And of course, it can, of course, affect the teamwork or the team adversely, which can, of course, lead to the failure of a team. And of course, another reason why teams fail is ineffective leadership. I say ineffective leadership. When leaders are not effective, when leaders lack experience, when leaders are not properly equipped, academically, educationally, or with talent, certainly the team is bound to fail. All right. I'll move to the next one, which is, of course, value of team. Value of teams. Why must we value team? Focusing attention on the organization as a whole. Team enable us to focus attention on the organization as a whole. Can you see? Why is fame very good or important? Quality of decision making and problem solving is improved when we work in team. Because we brainstorm ideas. Different people come with ideas from different specialties. And of course, as a result, we can, of course, come up with a quality decision making. Value of team. Building consensus and support for action. Can you see? Team enables us to build consensus. And if you are consulted before a decision is made, you will certainly support that decision. You see, so team enable us to build consensus before we make decision. Can you see? And of course, if we make decision, we will support the decision because we were part and parcel of the consensus. Can you see? So another aspect value of it is building a cooperative, goal-oriented culture. It enhances cooperation and goal-oriented culture because goals are more focused when we work as team instead of people working individually. Can you see? And of course, value of team is that team enables greater pool of knowledge and experience to bear on problems than any one individual. Can you see? It enables us to pool knowledge and experience to bear on problems that we want to solve than individual coming up with one initiative, an idea. Value of team, meeting a variety of human needs. Teams enables us to meet a variety of human needs. Can you see? Enable us to meet a variety of human needs. All right. Value of team. Now we move to features of highly productive work team. Features of highly productive work team. The following are the features of highly productive work team. The first one is recognition of interdependence. Can you see? Can you see? The skills of individuals within that particular team must be interdependent. Can you see? In solving a problem. Can you see? So, recognition of interdependence. And of course, feature of a highly productive team also include joint commitment and ownership. Can you see? Members of the team must be jointly committed and take ownership of the tasks or the work or the output of that particular team. Can you see? Then another feature of a highly productive team also include pooling of special skills, stroke knowledge to achieve objective. Can you see? It enables us to pool special skills and knowledge. Can you see? If we're able to pool the special skills and knowledge, we can become highly productive as a team. Another feature or characteristics of a highly productive team is that a climate of trust and freedom to take risks. Can you see? There should be a climate of trust and freedom to take risks. That will ensure a highly productive team. That will make a team to be highly productive. And of course, there should be open communication. I have spoken about communication. Communication should be free, open. There should not be rumors. There should not be grapevines. Communication should be free and open. No intimidation. And so nobody is intimidated for airing his views. And so another feature of highly productive is support to apply skills. And people should be supported to apply the skills they have learned from training. Some people go to training and they come back into their organizations. They are not allowed to practice what they have been about. I think that was one of the findings of my research work with Sylvia Nerish, my former master student, in terms of some of the training of staff members of Namibia University of Science and Technology, which was formerly called Polytechnic of Namibia. The finding was that many staff members were sent for training or are sent for training, but when they come back, managers don't allow them to apply the skills they have actually learned from training. As such, the skills become redundant because they didn't put into practice. You see? So support to apply skills that members of a team have acquired or have within them. Can you see? And of course, features of highly productive work team include participation to achieve positive result. Everybody must participate to achieve positive result. Can you see? Everybody must be allowed to participate. Can you see? All right, we progress. The next one is working with diverse team. How do you work with diverse team? Of course, this is actually addressing, of course, the stages in terms of team formation or, of course, group formation. Working with diverse team. Probably when we touch on the slide of team, if we have time, because I have to also calculate how many sections we have before the time runs up, because you see we have very limited sections in terms of our current lecturing pattern due to the COVID-19. I remember previously we used to have our lectures every week, during the regular classes. But now, because there have to be arrangement in terms of the meetings, so that students may not clash in terms of classes that they have to attend. Now there's a very wide dispersion in terms of how we meet. For instance, I meet you guys almost at times every 2 weeks, or so I have to also calculate how we can actually cover our syllabus or our learner guide before we close for the term. All right. So, what could diverse team, the way team operates in terms of this is actually talking to group formation or team formation. Although I don't know why Professor Day have, of course, brought it under this topic. But when we touch on the slides, the slide from the publishers on team, probably you can see what it's all about. It has to do with team or group formation, or formation in terms of group. The first one there is forming of a group, which is of course initiating the relationship among group members. And under forming, you have laying groundwork for trust and communication. And of course, under forming, you establish common visions and, of course, commitment. So the next stage in terms of group formation is surfacing conflict. Can you see? You begin to have conflict because you don't know yourself, and we don't know who should lead us. And of course, people have different views who a leader should be, and what should be the criteria. You see? So the next stage in terms of group formation is norming. Can you see? Norming is, okay, at this stage, we have started identifying someone to lead us, and of course, we have started understanding ourselves and forging the team. And of course, we have started integrating, assimilating, and of course, bringing our diversities together, balancing assimilation and, of course, diversity. And of course, we have started identifying a shared vision under norming in terms of group formation. And now we have started changing the terms from I to we. Can you see, to show that it is participative? Can you see? And it is a kind of joint activities. Can you see? So systematically, we begin to use the term we instead of I. Can you see? Under the stage of norming. And of course, next stage in terms of group formation is, of course, performing. That is now a stage where we have now come together and we have now understood each one another in that group. And now we are now performing the main task. Can you see? Leveraging similarities and differences, and of course, performing the actual tasks that have brought us together. Can you see? That is the performance stage in terms of group formation. And basically, of course, the next aspect is adjoining. Adjoining takes place when, of course, it is a kind of a group that have a kind of lifespan, like a task force. where you are given a particular period to complete your task. Can you see? So when we round up the work or the tasks of that we have been assigned to do, that brings about the end of our activities. So that is the adjourning stage. So for permanent team, for a team that will be permanent, or for a group that will be permanent within an organization, we don't have adjourning stage. But if the team or the group is a temporary group or a temporary team, definitely we'll have a moment where we round up our activities. A very good example of organization, a kind of group that we use adjoining is like a task force. Task force have period they have to round up their duty. Can you see? And of course, like a committee also, a committee is set up and they have a time frame to round up their duty. So those are the different stages of team formation or group formation within an organization. But we will touch on it properly when I want to discuss the slide on team, and of course, if we have time to discuss the slide on group also. All right. All right.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Now the next one there is making conflict work. Making conflict work. You see, teamwork must accept conflict. And you see, there's a need to encourage positive conflict, like I told you, and restrain negative conflict. Can you see? Positive conflict are those conflicts that are related to the work that we are doing or the tasks that we are performing. Can you see? But negative conflict are conflict that now move away from the tasks we are doing to we now fighting ourselves. You can see those two people setting blow in that diagram. Can you see? For hitting ourselves, then it has turned to negative conflict. It has turned to dysfunctional conflict. So conflicts that are related to the work or the tasks before us are functional conflict. The conflict that are departure from the tasks before us and move to individual or personal attack, that is known as dysfunctional conflict. And of course, in terms of leadership work, disseminate full agenda early. Can you see? With regards to making conflict work, leaders should disseminate full agenda early and be very focused. Agenda for meetings. And in terms of leadership work, when it comes to making conflict work, state and back up the philosophy for the team. Can you see? State and back up the philosophy of the team. What is our philosophy? I've told you what philosophy means. Our way of life, our belief system. Can you see? That is our philosophy. Rational and of course rules of the game. Can you say what are our rules? What our rationale for any action that we take within our organization? All right. We move, making complete work. Leadership work continue. Create environment for meeting. Can you see? The leader must create environment for meeting, layout and communication. Meeting for layout and communication. Can you see? And of course, making complete work, have knowledge of behavioral strategies. Can you see? All these things we are discussing has to behavior of people in the workplace. So as a leader or a manager, you must have knowledge of behavioral strategy to run meetings. Openness, you should be open to conflicts. Can you see? There are some leaders, they don't like somebody opposing their views when they are chairing a meeting. But good leaders will be open-minded, open to conflict, because they may learn from that conflict. They may get new insight from that opposition. Encouragement, focus on process. Can you see? A leader must focus on process, and not on individuals or on persons. And of course, making conflict work, keep focus on the issue. Keep focus on the issue, not on the person. You see. And of course, make it China destructive. China destructive conflict into positive conflict. Can you see? Be able to China dysfunctional conflict to functional conflict. Redirect people from individualism or redirect individual attack to tax related matters. Can you see? That this is not about us, but this is about the work we are doing. I remember telling one of my PhD students that the issue is not about him. My comment on his thesis is not about him, but it is about the work before me. You see? So when I comment, when I'm harsh, I'm not harsh at you, but I'm harsh at the document you have presented to me. Because this same document will go to an external examiner, and the examiner will be harsh if you are writing nonsense. You see? So it is not you per se that I am addressing.
But sir,
yeah.
when you are being harsh or when you're commenting to the work that I personally did, that means you're harsh to me.
No, not really. Not really. When you write totally out of point, there's an expectation of somebody doing a PhD, and there's an expectation of somebody doing a master, and there is an expectation of somebody doing a honors or undergrad. And if the expectation you are expecting from somebody who is doing a PhD is totally out of the way, can you see? You have to make the comment. You have to tell him, no, this is nonsense. You have communicated nonsense, no meaning conveyed. You have to express it, so that he goes back to criticize himself. Can you see? He goes back to criticize himself. And of course, every supervisor have their own mode of supervising. I was supervised by a very strict supervisor, Professor Andres Labert, And at times, Andres Labert can tell me, Wilfred, back it off. Leave my office. Can you see? If I did not submit something of quality to him, can you see? So that is the point, And I know he is not actually doing it, but he just wanted to kind of scold me so that I go back to rethink. Can you see? And be able to come out with something novel. Can you see? And give that. And when I perform also well, he will say, Wilfred, that is it. You have done it. Can you see? Let's go and have some drink. So there are two ways. That is what they call carrot and stick approach. When the student does it well, you clap, you praise the student. She will go back and work more, or he will go back and work more because she has received praises. And also, if she comes with something that doesn't make meaning, something that if a third party sees and the third party may criticize and say, is this supervised by a professor? Then definitely you have to let her know. You give her the stick approach, and that is by scolding. I say, no, you're writing nonsense. Can you see? So that the person goes back and say, no, I won't like to submit nonsense to prof again. Let me do my best. And then at least you can improve on the work. So we use both approaches. So when we mentor, it is not all the time that you use a kind of sweet mouth, or if a student perform abysmally, just be frank and tell her, no, work is not up to standard. This work, you communicated nonsense here, so that he knows that, I really need to actually give a third person, another person to see this view that I have actually expressed. You see? So it's good sometimes to be frank, but not, you have to also make the student to realize that you're being frank, you're being harsh. Certain time is not really herself, but the document before us, which actually can make her to fail or not to make progress with her thesis or with her this thing. Because the business is now business of both of you as the supervisor and of course the student, because your interest is that your students succeed. And if your student is not coming to party, if your student is not making effort, definitely there are instances where you have to pull her over. I remember there is one of my current student, a master student. I think she was in my honors class last year. I think the first introduction she sent to me for her master's work was totally out of point. And I have to tell her, no, if you don't progress, if you don't address this, I will then stop you. You can't do your master's under me. And I tell you, the lady went back, woke up, and she submitted impeccable work that I'm really surprised. Are you doing this? In fact, most of her submission nowadays, I don't even comment much because the work is up to standard. You see. But if at first I've told her, okay, just go back and see without being frank to her, definitely she will continue to lag behind, without making headway. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. So that is that with making complete work, which ends the slides that Professor Ade Thomas has, of course, shared, left for us to continue working with. So now let's move deeper. We still have 10 minutes to go. Let's move deeper into our discussion for today, which of course takes us to uh, all right. All right. Okay, we'll progress. Okay, some of the key topics here is diversity. And we have touched on them a little bit. We are not going to, we're not trying to sink deeper into some of the topics that we have touched on the first slides. Most of this will help us to go deeper and grapple more with what that comprehensive slide of Professor De Thomas addressed in terms of diversity-related issue within the workplace. So, diversity, demographic characteristics of South African workforce, biographical characteristics, issues around ability, implementing diversity management strategies, and of course, summary and implication for managers. All right. Now, when we talk about diversity, what are we trying to talk about? We're trying to say that people are not the same, and that has been my emphasis right from the beginning of today's lecture. So managers need to recognize and capitalize on these differences to get the most out of their employees. So managers need to leverage, can you see? Managers need to leverage on these differences to get the most out of their employees. You see? So recognition and capitalizing on these differences is very, very important. Recognition that two individuals are not the same in the workplace, even if they are twin brothers or twin sisters. You see? Effective diversity management increases an organization's access to the widest possible pool of skills, abilities, and ideas. You see? Effective diversity management does increase an organization's access to widest possible pools of skills, abilities, and ideas. However, like I mentioned to you earlier, differences between people can also lead to miscommunication. You see, differences can also lead to miscommunication. I remember when I was a student in India, if the Indians want to say yes, they will do like this. I agree with you. But in Africa, if we want to say yes, we nod our head up and down. You see? So you can see that can even lead to miscommunication. The sign language between two different continents. Can you see? So can also lead to miscommunication, misunderstanding, and of course conflict. Therefore, managers need to recognize this. All right. Demographic characteristics of South Africa workforce, or SA workforce. National and global changes in the workforce are leading to a more gender balance and, of course, multi-ethnic workforce. You see, national and global changes. What have changed in South Africa? The end of apartheid in 1994. Can you see? That's a national change. And that has brought about more ethnic groups into the workplace. Unlike previously, when certain ethnic groups were isolated and restricted to certain locations and to certain Bantu regions. Can you see? Now, people have come to work. Can you see? People have come to work without going to localities or without going to particular urban areas with passes. Can you see? So, national and global changes in the workplace are leading to more gender balance. Women are now coming into the workplace. Can you see? Women are now joining the workplace. Hello?
Yes, Professor, I'd just like to add something. With your previous slide, when you're speaking about miscommunication, misunderstanding, and the like, if we're dealing with diversity, it would also enable, people from different cultures, diversities, races, ethnic, whatever groups, to think differently. So it broadens your span of thought. If you think in a particular way, and if you work in a group with different people, you learn to think also differently. You think your way, but you also add on to your knowledge and understanding of how someone understands something and how you can also think differently and add for yourself and for the group.
No, that is very correct. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you on that. They say in every advantages there will be a disadvantage also, and you have enumerated the advantages, and of course the author is also identifying some of the disadvantages. So I totally agree with you. Those are the positive aspects of diversity, and of course multi-ethnic diversity, or of course global diversity with regards to the workplace today. We learn from different people. We learn different ideas. That is the beauty of diversity. You see different ways of doing things. That is the beauty of diversity in the workplace. All right. And of course, thanks for that insight. And of course, more women are now coming into the workplace. Before, women have been restricted. Can you see? In those days, women were considered to be just baby producers. Women were just considered to take care of the home. Women were just considered to cook for the children and the husband. Even even among families, women were relegated to the background. You see, when they want to train children, send children to university, they say, no, another man will marry this one off. Let's train the men. You see, so most of those tendencies have now given way. Now, even in classes nowadays, we see more female than even male. You see, so things are changing. Education has now made more women to also come into the workplace. And of course,
Professor,
women also, yes.
you speaking about women. Yes, they are regarded, usually used to be regarded as subordinates in the home. But when you come to
Yeah.
the workplace, also sometimes they also seen as the subordinates in the workplace. Also, when it's like men are always seen to be like the superior one, and then the ladies the subordinate. So yeah, I just want to add on to that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But also, it is also as a result of this stereotypical perception of women about themselves.
Exactly.
Sometimes also, yes,
Yes.
So women need to break forth. You see, women need to break forth and be able to actually put into practice that statement that what a man can do, a woman can also do. There's somebody disturbing us on the background. Please stop your radio or the music there, please.
Yeah,
All
so I
right.
wanted to say I agree with you that there's that stereotype there. Because if I were to say there's one female and there's one male in the company, and one's the CEO and one's the receptionist, and you ask who do you think is who, everyone would say the male's the CEO and the receptionist is a female. So, and that shows how people would think that, like as that Simone said, that the women are subordinates, and it shows that there is still a stereotype, even though women are still entering in the business.
Yeah. No, certainly. Some of these stereotypes are still there. I remember my PhD student who graduated the last 2 years, Sieni Ngidi Meleko, wrote about black female leaders in South Africa. A perception had about black female leaders in South Africa. And of course, she was able to identify these issues that even at times women stereotype themselves. Can you see? There are instances where subordinate females refuse to work under a female leader. Can you see? They even prefer to work under a male leader. Can you see? And even in terms of the stereotyping, there are instances where even a man may even prefer to work under a female leader. Can you see? Those are some of the findings in terms of our thesis. Can you see? So it's basically also a need for women also to begin to also appreciate themselves. And also there is also a kind of term that came out from Sen Ngidi's research, who she mentioned as what is called as queen bee. That when a woman emerges, she tries to suffocate other women under her so that they may not emerge. I don't know how true is that. Maybe I will leave that for the women in the class to add value to that. What is your perception about that argument?
Professor, Professor, you broke up. I didn't hear what you actually was saying.
Okay, there was a term that Sani Meleko used in terms of also women who have emerged as leaders. Some of them, they consider them as the queen bee. Queen bee, that is, bee, honey bee, so they consider themselves as the queen bee. So when they emerge, they suffocate other women from emerging. They hinder other women from emerging so that they are only seen at the top there without any other woman. How true is that in the workplace?
You know what, Professor? I am a female, but there is such a thing. I do think there is, but also because of just emotionally how we all are. So it is just how women deal with things in anything in their life, and how men deal with things in their life in their lives. It's just different. So it plays with also our us as being female and us as and men as being men. So yeah, I would think it is. Women just see things differently.
Yeah, okay, okay. And also another thing that is also bringing women into the workplace is divorce rate is now higher. You see, more women are now single mothers or they are divorcees. As a result, if they were formerly getting money from their husband or their partners, now they have to go and fetch for themselves. That is also increasing the number of female in the workplace. And of course, as a result of, yes.
Sorry, but also, when we speak about women, male, individual, organization, group, everything, organizations also stereotype women and men because also they group us or group people in pay grades as well. That
Mm,
puts us also in that position, that where we will be seen as subordinates because
mm.
of pay grades as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And of course, there's something we call glass selling, which is something that hinders women and, of course, minority. But I used to always tell my diversity management student that with regards to South Africa, majority from climbing to the leadership level. Can you see? Something that hinders them from moving to the top level of the organization hierarchy, which is known as a glass ceiling, with regards to that. All right. Then
Yes,
another
Professor.
thing that is, yeah, multi-ethnic workforce. We spoke about multi-ethnic within South Africa, Zulu, Xhosa, Pedi, Venda, all are now moving into the workforce. And of course, employment of women and people from disadvantaged background has increased significantly. And of course, affirmative action and women empowerment have, of course, reinforced that in South Africa. Workers over 55 are retained for longer in the workplace, in the workforce. Can you see? Workers over 55 are retained for longer in the workforce. We'll just finish this slide and close for the day because it's almost time. So workers over 55 are retained for longer in the workforce. Organizations need to make diversity management a central component of their policies and practices. Although more than 75% of the population is black, with regards to South Africa, this level of representation is not found in the labor market. You see, we still have more representative of course, white managers in the workplace. Then, of course, high unemployment rate also in South Africa, approximately more than 25 now in South African labor market, is compounded by constant growth in population of the people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's like 8 o'clock, a few minutes after 8. When we meet again, we'll continue from where we stop today. Our next discussion will start with levels of diversity. Is that clear?
It's clear, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you for class, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a wonderful evening and a good night
You
rest.
too.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, colleagues. Bye, colleagues. Is real in this class, in the class now. Real.
Sorry, Professor, I'm not sure what you're saying.
No, I'm asking of one of the students that said she wanted to speak to me after class today. I'm asking if
Oh,
she's in the class.
okay, probably gone already, yeah.
Okay, okay, no, that is fine. Okay,
Thank
thanks a
you
lot,
for the
colleagues.
class, sir.
Okay, bye,
Bye.
bye, colleagues. Bye. Hmm, right.